A huge weather pattern change is coming to the United States next weekend, and this is going to bring some of the coldest weather of the season thus far to much of the United States as an Arctic blast will be rolling in, and we also have reason to believe that we are going to be talking about at least one, if not maybe multiple winter storms as we go throughout the remainder of January because of this Arctic blast. So in today's forecast, we're going to break down exactly what you need to know about the weather that'll be impacting the United States over the next 10 days, and we'll begin with what's happening across the country this morning. And for the most part, most of us are quiet on this beautiful Sunday. East Coast and back into the southern plains, very dry right now. We do have a little winter weather event that's right now moving across the Midwest, which will actually bring some snowfall today to areas in the Midwest and the Great Lakes region, and this will also bring some lake effect snow tomorrow back over towards Lake Ontario and Lake Erie, and we'll talk a little bit more about this here in just a moment. And then back over on the West Coast, things are relatively quiet. The only area that's not quiet right now is back over in the Los Angeles area as several wildfires continue, and unfortunately the conditions are only going to get worse as we go into the early portion of this week, as winds will be increasing and dry weather will continue, meaning that wildfires are just going to rapidly grow again as we go through Monday, Tuesday, and as well as Wednesday. Before we go more into what's going to be happening this upcoming weekend with the Arctic blast and also the potential for winter storms, I do want to talk a little bit about what's happening over the next couple of days, because we actually already have some snow falling back over in the Great Lakes as a low pressure system is moving due east towards areas like Michigan, and snow will continue to fall throughout the day today. Some heavier snow squalls will be possible as well later this evening back over in parts of Michigan. This could bring near zero visibility at times with any of these snow squalls. It's basically like a severe thunderstorm, but in this case it's going to be for snow. And then eventually as we go into Monday morning, this will continue to move eastbound, and we'll also be watching for a few snow squalls across areas in the northeast, which could reduce visibility briefly. And then eventually as we go late into Monday afternoon and into Tuesday, lake effect snow will ramp up, and there will be a potential for maybe a foot or two of snow, but overall that's going to be confined to a relatively small area as it is lake effect snow. Now back over in the Midwest today and as well as into early tomorrow morning, we are expecting several inches of snow across Minnesota and northern Wisconsin. Enjoy 3 to 6 inches for many of you, and then back over into western Michigan, that is also where there will be a potential for maybe about 2 to 4 inches for most areas. A couple of isolated pockets near 6 inches of snow, and then also in the upper peninsula of Michigan, we are talking about the potential for over a foot of snow in a few spots due to lake effect snowfall. And then back over in the northeast, it is going to be very hit or miss in these areas when it comes to snowfall, because again, a lot of it will be lake effect snow, which is going to be confined to very small areas. The one near Lake Erie will just be south of Buffalo, where we are expecting between 6 to 12 inches of snowfall. And then back over near Lake Ontario, that is where a more significant band of lake effect snow will be happening for a couple of days, mostly again late Monday through Tuesday, and this is where we're expecting upwards of 12 to 18 inches of snowfall. Now the weather is going to be changing a ton over the next couple of weeks, and we think the coldest weather of the season and as well as a few more winter storms will be possible before the end of January. And one of the biggest reasons why is because right now our jet stream is looking like this. It is basically meridional across much of the United States, a bit more zonal here on the East Coast, but overall what we're looking at here are winds right now coming out of Canada. This is a northerly flow in the jet stream, which basically transports cold air out of Canada into the United States. And by the way, we are going to see a cold blast this week, mostly across the Midwest and the Ohio Valley from this particular weather pattern. But as we get closer to the end of the week, you'll notice the jet stream becomes a lot less active. We have a little bump here and there in the jet stream, but no big organized system where we are talking about a winter storm by any means. It's going to be pretty quiet overall for most of the work week here across the country. But as we get closer to the weekend, that is when very cold air and as well as the potential for snow will return to much of the United States. And the reason why is because we have this big dip in the jet stream that we're going to be seeing here. That's your trough, and then this right here is the dip in the jet stream. Very strong winds also aloft, which will transport a lot of cold air out of Canada right down into the Great Plains and also back through the Ohio Valley in the Midwest. And again, this could easily be the coldest weather of the season because this very strong area of northerly winds is huge, first off, and second off, it's going to be lasting for several days, and that's going to prolong the potential for very cold air here in the United States as we go into the weekend and eventually as we go into next week. So it does look like between January 18th to 24th, we are going to be dealing with below average temperatures for a vast majority of anywhere that's east of the Rocky Mountains, and then eventually beyond that, things become more uncertain. But it does look like it's going to be a very cold stretch of weather, and this could end up being one of the coldest Januaries that we've seen in quite some time. time. So let's put this temperature trend more into perspective with above and below average temperatures across the country. As we go into Monday into Tuesday, we have a small cold blast moving across the Midwest and the Ohio Valley. Again, very small in size, even though it's covering several states. It's relatively small compared to the one that we are about to see as we go into next weekend. This is what it looks like by the middle and end of the work week. Again, above average temperatures across much of the country. Looks nice, right? Here's the thing. We're going to have a trough back up here in Canada. Cold air on the back side of that. Jet stream is going to be very strong aloft with a very strong northerly wind, and this is going to transport a huge Arctic blast to much of the United States. Some of the coldest weather that we've seen this entire year will filter into much of the country, especially back up in the northern plains in the Midwest, where we could have some areas near record-breaking temperatures with how cold it is about to get. Notice this cold frontal boundary will extend all the way back down, even as far south and east as areas like Florida and Texas, and then eventually as we go into the following week, that cold air really siphons down into areas like the Midwest and the Ohio Valley, and we are again talking about well below average temperatures in the white and pink areas here. That is definitely going to be chilly weather. And then eventually as we go into the middle and end of next week, things become a bit more uncertain, but we'll likely have this cold air sticking around at least for around 3 or 4 days. And our friends at the Climate Prediction Center do agree with this, indicating that there is right now a high likelihood of below average temperatures across nearly the entire country. The only area that's not included in that is over here in central and southern Florida. Other than that, everybody right now has at least a higher chance of seeing below average temperatures compared to above average temperatures. The Great Plains at the highest probability of that between the 19th and the 25th. So buckle up, it is going to get very cold as we go into next weekend and then eventually throughout the following week. And though it is too early to put exact numbers on how cold it is going to get in your location, I want to give you an idea of how cold it could get as we go into Sunday and as well as Monday morning, which again is still about a week out from now, so still take this with a grain of salt. But as we get closer, these numbers should become a lot more consistent on the computer models. But it is indicating as we go into Sunday morning, we could be talking about temperatures down below freezing all the way down towards the Gulf Coast, and also temperatures as low as 20 degrees below zero back over in Minnesota and North Dakota. By the way, wind chills, aka feel-like temperatures, will probably be negative 40 to negative 50 if this ends up happening. So obviously, this is going to be very cold weather, and we could be talking about frostbite being a very strong possibility for any exposed skin out there. And then as we eventually go into Monday morning, very similar story, even a couple spots in North Dakota as low as negative 30 degrees. Again, that does not include the wind chill factor, which obviously would be much colder than that with the wind, even being 5 to 10 miles per hour would make it feel so much colder up there. Now let's talk more about the potential for a couple more winter storms here in January, and this is the latest from the Climate Prediction Center between January 18th and 20th, which is about a week from now, indicating a slight risk for heavy snowfall. The last time they put a graphic out like this for the last winter storm we saw back down in the southern plains and back over into areas like Georgia, for example, that was pretty spot on. So let's not rule this out here. They are putting a slight risk across areas like Texas, back through Arkansas, Tennessee, and also back into the Northeast. Again, this would basically be for this upcoming weekend. So the weather during the work week is going to be very quiet. We're not going to be really talking about much snow or rain. It really changes though as we go into Friday, Saturday, and as well as into Sunday. We are thinking that there's going to be a big storm across areas from the Midwest back into the deep South, and this could bring the potential for maybe some severe weather, but we're also watching the winter storm component back up here in the Great Lakes region, and depending on the track of this, it will determine how much snow we see and exactly where it falls. Right now, the GFS model is showing a much more northerly path across the Midwest and then eventually moving into the Northeast, where several inches of snow would be possible out of this, and perhaps even a winter storm, because heavy snowfall would be a possibility out of this that could last hours and hours. So this will definitely be something to watch for. It looks like it's going to be a Friday into Saturday event, and then eventually moves out as we go into Sunday. And then here's the thing, with the jet stream that we are going to have going into the following week, with a big dip, very cold air coming out of Canada, any sort of moisture that can come out of the Pacific or the Gulf that can ride this jet stream could form another winter storm. That's what we need to watch for very closely. Though the GFS model doesn't really hint at that right now, this is the area to watch for that starting point. Essentially what we just saw a couple of days ago out of the winter storm that hit Texas, Oklahoma, and several other states. We have to watch this exact area because it's definitely a possibility that we have some moisture come out of one of those two areas or maybe both, and it forms another winter storm. Right now, the GFS model has that way back over to the east right now, but it definitely could change as we are still over 7 days out. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel and we'll keep you posted with the latest on this situation. But it definitely looks like there's a possibility here that we could have a couple of different winter storms over about a 5 to 6 day period with this Arctic blast that is coming up. So you're saying saying there's a chance. Yes, there is. There is a chance of snowfall. This is the probability of seeing greater than 1 inch of snow between now through January 21st. Again, take this with a grain of salt, but obviously there are probabilities here. I mean, we have 10 to 20% chances even down into Texas, Alabama, Mississippi, back through Oklahoma. So there's definitely a chance that we have some sort of winter storm that tries to form here, or at least some sort of snow event that tries to start in the southern plains as we go into next week. But obviously we are still several days out. Things will be changing. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon down below so you're notified with the latest updates. We'll keep you posted on the latest with this. We may not have a video tomorrow if there are no big updates, but we'll have a video on Tuesday if we don't have one tomorrow. So make sure to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys all again in the next one.